we living out a story that's worth telling? It's not the prodigal son, it's the prodigal God. God is extravagant when it comes to us. I don't know if we've realized how much grace and mercy we've been given. What I'm about to do this weekend is going to change the world. Good morning. How are we doing this Mother's Day? We good? We good? All right. Well, welcome those of you who are joining online as well. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. So, yeah, it is. It is. And to all the moms out there, we love you. We love you. We love you. Yes. Give it up. Okay, you guys are not excited about that. Are you guys like, we're done clapping. We're done clapping. The moms are like, we're just tired. We're tired. Can't do this. We can't do this. But can we give it up for all the ladies, though, in the house? Like, all the ladies. All the ladies. All the single ladies. All right, okay. So, right. I noticed something, that I had put a Halls, like a thing in my mouth, and it's in my mouth right now. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Well, hey, so I know that this weekend is going to be, like, this service is going to be special for a lot of people. I mean, we're dedicating some babies here. We're doing that. We might be baptizing some dads. No, probably won't. We won't. But it's going to be exciting for some of us. But for others of us, it's going to be tough. You know, it's one of those. And for those of you who are watching online, maybe you're one of those. You know, you're like, I just don't want to be in this presence. I don't want to be in this place right now. Mother's Day is rough. Mother's Day is tough. And I get that. But I do want to say is that I want to celebrate and honor women, especially moms. And I know it's a really great weekend for us as a family. So I just want to allow you to just kind of share in our joy. Our kids are here. Like, you know, you got Asher back from college. We're excited about that. And here's why. Because this is the best Mother's Day gift for Ashley. That's the biggest thing. Well, right there. It's ridiculous. And this is not like Instagram family. This is actually real. This is happening. Okay, we don't fake it. It's so funny though. We were there during worship, and I got back there and I saw my phone, and Asher texted me during worship just a minute ago, and he was like, "Hey, Dad, you and I should lead worship." And I was like, so he's got all the talent, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But Father's Day, let's do it. Father's Day. So it's happening. Father's Day, we're leading worship. It's gonna be Bollywood style, just so you know. All right, well, let me do this. Let me just honor my mom a little bit, and just the fact that not that she is she's an amazing woman, but she's going to teach us a lot about our faith. And my mom is a Muslim, devout Muslim, Sunni Muslim woman, and can I show you a picture of her? Okay, those of you who might not know, this is my sweet mom. We're gonna put her on the screen. Look at that. She's in her happy place in the kitchen. She really does. She loves to cook. That's her thing. This is Mama Fazal for you Americans, and it's Ammi Ji for all the Pakistanis and Indians in the house, all right? Which there are none. There are no Pakistanis. There are no Pakistanis in the house. There are a few Indians because they're everywhere, but yeah. There's no. So can I just talk about my mom a little bit? So she's a Pakistani woman, and her mom died when she was a teenager. She, because of that and her large family, she was one of those who was chosen not to go to school. So she has no education. Never went to school at all. But she had a heart to learn, you know. Early, right after teenage years, she got married to her cousin, her first cousin. Because in Pakistan, that's what they do. It's arranged marriage. That's just how they roll back then. And then when she got married, and her husband, my dad, left and was gone for 2 years. He was there for 2 weeks. He was gone for 2 years, and he went to Kuwait to start a life there, and for us to actually migrate there. But he started his life there. She got pregnant. And had her first child, my older brother, without anyone, without her dad, mom, no one took care of her. In fact, the story is that she told her brother-in-law to just take her to the hospital, and she came out of the hospital with my brother. So it's kind of an interesting life that she's lived. And then right after that, she moved from her childhood family and country to Kuwait. And Kuwait is an Arab world, it's a different language. And she goes in and she leaves all her childhood friends, family, and goes to a foreign country called Kuwait. And there she has 4 more kids, us. We have 2 brothers. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. And so we started just living life there. And she cooked almost every day, if not every. Honestly, she cooked every day. But she loved to sew, and so she started sewing, and then she started sewing her own clothes. She refused to shop. She would sew her own stuff, and she got extremely good at that. And then when her older son was able to graduate high school, and it's already tough, I can see that in Ashley's eyes, to see Asher go to a college, she allowed her firstborn, her son, to go to the U.S., not just leaving town, but leaving the country. And so he leaves, and I can only imagine the pain that she felt. And then the war takes place. She goes through a war. Kuwait gets occupied and then finally liberated. And man, in the middle of that, she is just wrestling all kinds of things. Major conflict, emotional, psychological, just so many things happening there. And then right after that, her second-born, me, gets a chance to come to the U.S. And so, yeah, she lets me go to the U.S. And I just want to let you know, when I went to the U.S., I didn't have a college application. And my dad was like, hey, I got you a tourist visa, don't come back. Yeah, so those of you immigrants, that was the plan. Dad was like, I don't care what you do, just don't come back. And I remember hugging her, leaving her. I can just imagine what she was feeling. But then after that, her daughter gets accepted to a college in the U.S. again, a Pakistani woman. And she decides that her daughter was going to be the first in our entire family to go to college, because she never even stepped into a school. But then her daughter was also actually going to go to the U.S. And that sends shockwaves in our families. Have you ever made a decision and it sends shockwaves in your family? Like it just said a whole different message. And then the family started talking. And we have a huge family. She's got 9 brothers and sisters. I mean, they've got multiple. So then they begin asking, okay, hold on. So you've got 2 boys and you got 3 girls. So we're going to arrange marriage them, right? So then they begin to call for that I was going to marry a particular cousin. And growing up, I knew I was going to marry a particular cousin, or I was supposed to. And my mom said, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And that hurt the family. They're like, oh, what? And then my mom, not my dad, my mom decided that she was not going to put us, while we were in teenagers, the education we were going to get was not going to be in Pakistani schools. She was like, we're going to go to Indian schools. Now, I don't know if you know about Indians and Pakistanis. They don't like each other. So my cousins were mortified. They were like, I'm sorry, you're sending them to the enemy's school? Like, we're fighting them even now. The countries are still fighting. My passport cannot, or as a Pakistani, I can't go to India even now. So she puts us in that school. So just want you to know the audacity of this woman. And then she comes here. And we start settling. And then she goes, okay, we're settled here, sort of. But then her second son, me, I take her out for a walk one day, and I give her the most traumatic, scarring news that a mom could ever hear. And I tell her that her kids, that she has prayed all these prayers for and raised all throughout these years, are leaving their Muslim faith and following Jesus. And I can't tell you the heartbreak. I mean, I wounded her deeply that day. I still remember the scene. Oh my gosh. And fast forward, all her kids are not Muslim. All of them are Christians. And she is the only one that's Muslim. Now, I don't know about you, but I was like, yeah, it is amazing, but in a Christian context, it's amazing. If you were all Muslims, it wouldn't just be horrific, it would be like, you're a terrible mom. See, in spreading the good news of Jesus, I forgot that that was awful news for her because she failed as a mom every step of the way. And so now that I'm beginning to see this, I'm like, wow, how is this woman still functioning? How she has still a smile in her face? Then her husband passed away. She comes and settles in the US, again, another foreign country. She's been to already one. She comes here, and then she has to learn this thing called English. And she's so persistent, she was like, I'm gonna take night classes. So she began to take night classes to learn English. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, the tenacity of this woman. Oh my goodness. Keeps on going. I'm like, she's like, yeah. And then she said, I want to start my own business. I was like, okay, what? A tech company? What are we thinking here? Like, what's happening, Mom? She's like, sewing business. And friends, she's an entrepreneur, and she's been sewing, and she's like, I don't know, 76, 77 right now. And she's still sewing. She has her own company, in a sense. She's still doing that. But then, 9/11 took place. I don't know if you guys remember 9/11. 9/11 takes place, and we're all good. Like the siblings, we're all good. We're all legal. Like our immigration stuff is all good. But she, out of all the people in her family, everybody's here. Mom and dad. Mom is here. She's here. I'm sorry, dad's here. She's here. The kids are settled. Everything is good. 9/11 happens, and obviously the world goes crazy. U.S. loses its mind, and I get it. I mean, it was a pretty horrific thing. But then they found a technicality in her whole immigration thing, and they deported her. And I'm not just saying they deported her. I'm saying they had an agent escort her all the way to make sure, on a flight sitting with her, to make sure she left the country. And I was like, my mom, a criminal. What? Wow. I mean, she's a little thug, but seriously. I was like, why is my tax money paying for another agent to go and take this anyways? And she's gone. And 1 year passes, and 2 year passes, and now it's 3 years and no end in sight. And I go in there undercover as a Christian pastor. Shh, no one knows. And I go in and try to get her out. And that's a whole story. But then she makes it back. She does make it back. She makes it back, and she begins to see life happen. And right after she comes here and things are going good, her daughter's husband dies. Her daughter's husband dies suddenly of a heart attack on the anniversary of her husband dying. Right? I'm like, Mom, you should drink. Like, I mean, like what? Like what? This, like, how are you carrying all of this? Now, I don't know about you, but I just think that a lot of women have this ability to carry so much weight. Like I don't know if you realize it. Like, I think guys, and I'm making these broad generalizations. I get that. But guys like to hold the weight and flex. But women end up just holding a lot of weight and making it look light, because you carry it for a long time. And I don't know how you do it, because it's just not my mom. I think it's a lot of women. There are a lot of women who just carry so much. Some of you are carrying the entire weight of your family emotionally. And people are like, why are you crazy? You know what? What? Some of you are carrying the weight of not just your family, but extended family spiritually. You're just carrying it spiritually. And you're burdened. You're burdened. You're burdened. You move towards more spiritual things, and people are like, oh, I mean, calm down, relax. And you're like, no, you don't know what I'm carrying. Some of you are carrying so much stuff just psychologically. It's not just your trauma, but other people's trauma. You've seen loved ones, and the problem is sometimes maybe it's just me as a guy. I can forget other people's stuff, but you don't. You keep it, and you keep it close, and you don't let go. I'm not saying you guys are stubborn. I know my mom is. But stubbornness becomes a very spiritual thing when you use it in prayer, doesn't it? And you just hold on and hold on. And here this morning, this is not a message of, hey, drop the weight. I'm saying, please carry it. Because if you don't, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm saying, don't quit. I'm saying you have the ability to. You have so much more grip strength, more than guys do. We just let go. We're like, ah. We can't. Have you seen a guy sick? Oh, come on. Right? I mean, not me, but I'm just saying. Yeah, it's tough to carry this, to carry it and carry it. So can I take you to a passage of scripture and show you why Jesus was convinced that if this movement was going to make any traction, it was going to have to be on the shoulders, on the strength of women. Because I don't know you know this, because as we interpret the scriptures, we find that there's just so many stories about guys. But there are so many significant things that Jesus did in particular, especially for women, and not just for them, gave them this burden to carry. Like if you just read the stories, they're the first one who found out that Jesus was risen from the grave. Last week, if you were there, a woman was the first one to realize that Jesus was going to die, and she was going to anoint him before he was going to be killed. And so there's countless stories of Jesus going, okay, I need to tell you this. I need you to tell this. Do you even know historically, women funded Jesus' ministry? Yeah. It was women. The dudes were like broke, young, dumb, and broke. But they were like, the women were like, oh yeah, we're gonna cover this. We're gonna cover this. We're gonna cover this. We're gonna take care of this. They funded his trips. It's ridiculous. So this story right here is obviously about a woman. And this story is one of those that I think some people, I think maybe even Ashley's like, I don't like this story. And I don't like the story either. I'm with you. But this brings so much honor to women. And here's the thing. It shows us the kind of faith that we need to have. And this story is one of those, if you've ever heard this before, you're like, is this really in the Bible or are you making this up? Like, what's happening? Because everybody has a picture of Jesus, and it's mostly good, right? We're like, Jesus, he's my homie. He's good. He's a good guy, good guy, good guy. He's particular with his words. He's always in a good attitude most of the time. All right? So let's just read the story here. It starts off, it says in Matthew 15, leaving that place. Now, that place was a more Jewish place. There was a lot of, it was a place there was a lot of religious people there. But he left, and he was doing a lot of ministry there. So he withdrew. It says Jesus withdrew to a region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite, can you say Canaanite, please? Woman from the vicinity came to him crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me, that my daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly. Jesus, what does it say here? Jesus what? Did not answer a word. Did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, send her away. She keeps crying out after us. Like what? Like they're like annoyed. He answered, I was sent only for the lost sheep of Israel. The woman came and knelt before him. Lord, Lord, help me, she said. He replied, it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the... Whoa, bro. Like, I'm sure Peter, you're like, hey, what are we doing? What do we just call her? Would you just insinuate something? What's happening here? And then she says, yes, yeah, it is. Yes, it is, Lord. She said, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And then Jesus said to her, woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. And her daughter was healed in that moment. Now, there's so many interpretations of this, but let's get into the scene. Let's set up the scene. Jesus is going to a place 50 miles away from basically where he's been doing ministry. He's not trying to get away. He's just going there intentionally. What we realized in these stories is that Jesus is extremely intentional with us, not random. So he knows why he's going. He knows where he's going. He knows what's going to happen. He's led by the Spirit. I'm not quite sure if he knew exactly what was going to happen or the woman or whatever, but he's there. He does know this, that if someone was going to come up to him, it was going to be a Canaanite woman. Canaanites had history with Jewish people. Serious history. If you know Old Testament stuff, when Abraham went and they were going to get the land of Canaan. Yeah, this was historical conflict going on here. So this region was where those guys ended up hanging out after the Jewish people kind of took over everything. So he goes there in particular. He knows he's going to interact with someone there. So he knows that there is, again, history. And then this woman comes to him and says, my daughter is demon possessed. Now, I don't know about you, but this woman comes, not a husband and wife. The mom comes. I just want you to know that this is not a parable. This is a real story, which means is that this mom has gone through years and years and years of seeing her daughter lose her mind. And I don't know if you know this, but I've talked to people who man, something gets inside of them. And I did youth ministry and back in the day, and I saw kids, something happened and they began to change. And then there was this deep sense of like, I'm not worthy and I hate myself. And then they began to do some things that are just so destructive, so horrific. In our modern world, we know that there is this huge pressure with social media, this huge anxiety when it comes to so many things. And our kids are, just bombarded with this sense of like, you are not worthy and you need to confine, or you need to be defined, or you need to be this, and you're not good enough, and you're just not enough. And our kids are hearing it. And for some of us, we've seen our kids just lose themselves. So if you can't relate to demon-possessed, maybe you can. You're like, my daughter is actually, But others of us, we're like, this hits home. So I just want you to know there's so much emotion when she comes. She's not like, hey, my husband's sick and he won't shut up. Could you just heal him? No, this is my daughter who I have seen. I can't even bring her to you because I cannot control her. She is losing her mind. I'm living with this. I've been living with this for so long, and everybody has given up. I've been carrying this weight for so long. Everybody's given up. Yeah, my husband's not even here with me. There was one chance to come, and I knew that you were Jewish. I knew you were Jewish. I knew it. You're a rabbi. And we're Canaanites. We're not into you guys. But I just had to come. Why? Because I've been carrying this weight of my daughter. She's losing herself. She's not just passing away. She is destructive. See, it's one thing to just lose someone to death. It's another thing to lose someone to destruction. Because it's a long process of just pain and worry and sleepless nights, and you're just, oh God, it's weighing and weighing and weighing on me. And she's like, everybody else has left, but I'm holding on to this, and I'm coming to you, and I'm saying, please, Lord, I'm calling you Lord. I know I'm Canaanite. I'm just calling you Lord. Could you please do something? So it's in that moment, Jesus doesn't say one word. Doesn't say one word. Now, I just want you to know that sometimes spiritually, that's what happens. You're like, God, 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 God. And then the heavens are just, hello? Like, you talking to me? What's going on? I just poured my heart out to you. I just told you, oh, you're not even looking at me. And in this context, basically, he's seated somewhere with disciples around. She comes and she is calling out. She's not next to him. She's calling out initially. And he doesn't say anything. Everybody can hear her. The disciples come to him and go, hey, could you please tell her? Why couldn't they tell her? You know why? Because when you meet a woman who is so persistent to get to talk to someone or do something, you're like, get out of the way. Oh, I don't want to deal with that. Oh, she is going to get in this room. This is happening. Like, watch out, world. And some of you ladies are giggling. Some of you guys know your moms. You know your wives. You're like, oh, yeah. And she's in the story. She is that woman. Yeah. No one else can tell her. I've got to tell other people, please tell her to do something. So they come, he's like, Jesus, why don't you tell her? He can hear her, but he's not saying anything. And then he just says something. I just want you to know, when he says, I was not sent to the lost sheep of Israel. He didn't say it to her. He just said it. And when he said that, he brought up the past. He brought up all the history of those Canaanite people. So here's what's profound. What happens is that when you pour your heart and when you have something and you've been carrying it for so long and you are praying and praying and praying and heaven is quiet, instantly what's going to happen is there's going to be a remembrance, a memory of the past that's going to pop up. And for some of you, ladies, you're praying for something and here's why you think you're not getting an answer. You know this. It's because you go, God's punishing me because of my past. I can't have this because of what I did in my 20s, 30s, whatever. This is happening because of my past, isn't it? Jesus is quoting something. He's quoting Deuteronomy. He's not having a conversation. He's saying some statements to make her and let other people know I'm bringing up the past. We're in Canaanite region here. I'm bringing up something that the enemy would always bring up. That's what's going to happen all the time. The past is going to come up when heaven is quiet. And so this is just, it's happening. This is amazing. Jesus is bringing something out of her and teaching his people about this, the disciples. And then the woman basically came and knelt before him. So she basically like, get out of my way. Get out of my way. Okay, get out. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've seen Pakistani women. Oh my gosh. Moms, when they're intense, they're intense. They're like, get out of my way. I don't care if I'm not supposed to be here. I'm doing this. So she comes and she is now right close to him. This is where a conversation actually starts happening. And then she's right next to him, kneels down close to him, and then she says, Lord, help me. At this point, Jesus is looking into her eyes, she's looking at him. And then he says to her, but he's quoting Old Testament stuff. He's bringing up stuff. He's like, but isn't it not right to take the children's bread and give it to the dogs? Like, I want to bring this faith. But isn't it true, though, that all this time we used to believe that this is not supposed to be done? And then she responds, yes, it is. Because here's why. They're talking Old Testament. They're not having a conversation. They're bringing up stuff. And basically he's commending her in those. He's like, you know your history. You know your stuff. And then she says, yes, it is. But even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And if you can't make it smooth. You can't smooth this over. Oh, it's not a dog. It's a little dog. It's a puppy. No, I don't care if it's a cute dog. It's still a dog. It's an unruly animal. That's the word used there. Because they used to call Canaanite people that name. So right here, Jesus is like this, like he is bringing up and revealing and exposing the great faith that she has. It's huge. It's so big, so much. And then he looks at her and goes, woman, because now they're having a conversation. Now she's close. And she looks at her and she says, woman, you have great faith. Like great faith. Like I have seen your faith. You have gritty faith. It is like I just want to tell you, you have this faith that I'm talking about. Like in that moment, he was like, I see you. I see that you've been lonely in holding this weight for so long. No one understands. You have great faith. Man, people have let go. You have great faith. And if I could use another word, it would be gritty faith. You have this gritty faith about you that does not let go. And he goes, you have great faith. Do you know how many people, how many men, how many other people Jesus has looked to them into their eyes, been close, and said, you have great faith? In all the recorded testaments that we have? 0. This is the only time. The only other place that Jesus ever said, great faith, it was not talking to a person. He was talking about a person, and it happened to be another Gentile person, a centurion. But the only person he has looked and said, you have great faith, not connected to your healing. You are resilient. You are persistent. You are the example of what we need. This is it. Great faith. The disciples were like, what? I mean, I think I have pretty good faith. No. Peter's like, I walked on water. Well, barely. And it was all about you back then. But she's been holding on for so long. So I just want to say to us who are not moms or women, I just want to say we need to learn this from women. There is a reason Jesus left so many important things to women. They seem to be the foundation of so many things. So many things. A religious man walks up to Jesus and he goes, hey, he's a Pharisee. He goes, hey, you've done some amazing things. I just want to know, like this spiritual life that you're talking about, how can I attain this spiritual life? And Jesus says, you must be born again. And the guy says, Nicodemus says, what does that mean? I can't be born again. He's like, you have to be, like, spiritually, you have to die and you have to be born again. And he says, what the Spirit breathes or births a spiritual life. And right there, Nicodemus, who is entrenched in this hierarchy, entrenched in this system of like just a male-dominant society, Pharisees, women were not Pharisees, hears something that blows his mind. Jesus says that the Spirit is the one who's going to birth your spiritual life. It blew his mind. That the Spirit of God, even the Holy Spirit, Ruach, is female. That is a female word. And so I don't know what you think and what you've grown up, but I just want you to know that there's something so profound in understanding that women have this anointing, this burden, of course, this tenacity, this calling. They're wired up. The female spirit is so wired up that it can carry and hold on and still going. It's the most creative spirit out there. It bursts things that have been dead before. So if you find yourself wanting to give up, mom, if you find yourself, if you're a lady right here, I just want you to know, don't give up. That you were wired up. You were wired up in such a way that we would never will begin to understand. And I just want us, all of us, to have this sense of a holy envy towards you. That we're like, we want to be like that. We want to hold on to people like that. So today, as we end, man, ladies, could you please keep holding on to this? I know you're like, really? I mean, don't get on a scale with this. Just saying, hold on to it. Could you hold on? Because we need you to. And honestly, we can't. And I'm not saying you want to take on our burdens. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you don't need to shed unhealthy spiritual, emotional, psychological weight. I'm not saying that, please. I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, there's stuff that you're carrying and you're like, no one sees me carrying this. I know. I don't see you carrying it. But he does. And he looks at you and says, you have great, great faith. And you can keep doing it. You can keep carrying it. You have it inside of you. And you're like, Naeem, I'm broken. I want to give up. I want to. Please don't let people, the past, cultural norms define and confine you to who you were created to be. Please don't let us tell you what you can and cannot do. Please allow the Spirit of God to look at you and say, you have great faith. And this faith will birth things, will heal things, will set people free. So I want to pray for you. I want to honor you. And I want to thank you. Let's stand together. Would you close your eyes for a minute? And if you would, could you just, with your hands, just make a fist. Just make a fist. And allow God's Spirit to just speak to you. And this fist is things that you were thinking of giving up on. But this fist, as you tighten this fist, you're saying that I know that God's Spirit is in me. I know that people might not understand, and I might find myself extremely lonely as I go through this season in my life. But I'm holding on. I'm holding on. I am not letting go. And if the world wants to bring up the past, if the world, and if my own thoughts wants to bring up my worthlessness, whatever it might be, I'm holding on to God's promises. I'm holding on to God's peace. I'm holding on to God's favor in my life. I'm holding on to my people. I'm not letting go of my people. God, I thank you that as the women and the ladies of our community hold on and come together and strengthen one another, they begin to set the foundation of the future of our church. So God, I pray their resistance, their persistence, their strength would become our strength, God. And that they would create the future that you have for Mosaic. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.